Hi, this is Gary Jones of Full Tilt Poker bringing you the final table highlights of the main event. The name of the game today is No Limit Hold'em. We're hosted by Scott Montgomery, and with 5,225 players paying the $500 entry, we've got a prize pool in excess of 2.6 million. There's 9 players left. SC Killer looking pretty good right now with over 11 million in chips. He's 4 million ahead of Julian Verse, who's behind him at 7.2 million. Then the rest of the field are pretty tight, going down to SD Bum, bringing up the bottom with 1.3 million. All still hoping to get their hands on the $450,000 first prize. So we join the action with blinds of 80,000, 160,000 and a 20,000 running ante. That gives us 420,000 in the pot before they even get their cards. SD Bum under pressure at the moment, 906,000. He can't afford to sit there for too long. But the actions with Sinrake, he's raised it up 420,000, little over 2.5 times the big blind. Pretty good right there as far as I'm concerned. That's about the right sort of size you should be opening for. Well, it's a re-raise here. Hummel Hintern has decided to put his tournament life on the line. 2 million in chips he's moved all in for. And Sinrake can afford to call this with any kind of a hand. It's 1.6 million more. It's not going to cripple him. Going to put him back to kind of the rest of the field. Looks like SD Bum's giving this one some thought. Well, it's all in for him. That's the only choice he has. And he's got to be thinking, yeah, he's decided he's going to cost him 420,000 if he sits there for one round. He's going to take a chance. Ace Queen, hoping he's up against an underpair and his ace is live. He was right. Needs to catch an ace. 10 would be a bad card for Hummel Hintern, but no, Hummel Hintern's going to win that one. King's up for him. Ace Queen, not enough for SD Bum, and he's going to be our 9th place finisher. So Hummel Hintern up to 5.1 million in chips. He's looking pretty good right now. He'll be happy with that last hand. Rolling hand on the button. He's down to 1.7. Under a little bit of pressure. Can't afford to sit there for too long. He decides to let go. I love poker. Just one player to get through. Might put the pressure on with 400,000 in there. I wouldn't blame him for moving all in. Or just even a small raise. Possibly even looks more suspicious. But then he might not want to make the call for an extra million or so if he does do that. So he's decided to move all in, put the pressure on Baseman, who's found a hand with Ace Jack looking good. Doesn't want to see an 8 or 4. That Deuce 5-9 is going to please him. So's that King. And so's that 7. So Baseman doubles up. And I Love Poker's hurt his chances a little bit, down to 2.6 million. Blind still, 80,000, 160,000. And we've got to move all in here from rolling hand. 1.7 million to play. Julian Verse has moved all in for 7.5 million. That's a very dangerous thing with pocket nines and a man behind you who can knock you out. Right now, he's looking good. Doesn't want to see... Well, there's quite a few cards he can hit on the end, but that Queen isn't one of them. And rolling hand, he's going to be out in 8th place. Blinds have gone up. It's 100,000, 200,000. And we've got a 25,000 running ante. Passed all the way around to the button and move all in here for 3.6 million. That's very dangerous with a man there who can knock you out. Another one who can pretty well cripple you. In fact, they can both knock you out, and one of them's about to try. It's Ace Jack versus Ace 4. Sinrake needs to catch or he's out. King would be a split pot. That's kind of be enough for him now. He'd take that. So would a 10. No, that 5 means it's all over for Sinrake. And I Love Poker doubles up to 7.6 million. So we've just seen Sinrake overplay that hand a little. I think he didn't actually have to move all in there. I think he could have made a much smaller bet and then passed, giving himself a chance to fight another day. As it happens, I Love Poker made a good call and he's doubled up to 7.5 million. Well, here's Crack. He's moving all in for 1.7 million. That's the kind of pot size that I think you can move all in with, because you've got less than 10 times the big blind. You don't want to be sitting there putting kind of about a third of your chips in. As it happens, he's dominated by the King 10 of SC Killer, and that's the end of his tournament life. Couldn't catch the Queen that he needed on the end, and we're down to 5. So no one under any real pressure now. 3 million the lowest chips, that's Baseman, and he can still afford to play a bit, doesn't have to just push all his chips in the middle. So hopefully we'll be seeing more sensible raises. Around the 500,000 mark would be my guess. 475,000 wasn't a bad guess. And he's only got Hummel Hintern to get through. Only going to cost him 275,000 more, and he makes the call. King 10 deuce, 3 clubs. This is kind of an action board. Someone with a high club could be taking on someone with a king here. Check from Hummel Hintern. Now what do you do with a club, or if you flop the king? You probably want to make a sizable bet, and that's a big bet there for Baseman. All in, 2.8 million, quick call, and that's why kings and tens for Hummel Hinton. Needs to catch a jack or a club, Baseman. Well, that's a club. Oh, and a king's full for Hummel Hinton, and Baseman's going to be out in fifth, and that's a really nice pot for him. We're still at the 100,000, 200,000 blind level. Raise up here on the button from Hummel Hinton. He's rid of the first man. Small blind's gone. That was I Love Poker. It's Julian Verse with about 5.7, 5.8 million. Makes a re-raise and a sizable one. That's almost half his chips. And an all-in push from Hummel Hinton. Julian Verse, can he leave those behind? I don't think he can. He's made the call. He's not in bad shape. His fours are in front. 5 would be a really bad card for him, as would be an ace or king. Or a 10 now. But that deuce means a double up for Julian Verse, and that's a really nice size pot, 11.9 million. I Love Poker to act. 6.6 million for him. 550 the bet. A little over 2.5 times the big blind. A sensible amount. Oh, got a re-raise here. It's a small re-raise from SC Killer. 1.3 million to play. Another 750,000 to I Love Poker. He's giving it a bit of thought. He's pushed 6.6 million. Cool that from SC Killer, and I'm not surprised. He's got the boots. Pocket aces for SC Killer. A 7 needed for I Love Poker, or he's going to be out the door. That queen doesn't help, and neither does that ace. 8 rather. So SC Killer knocks out I Love Poker, and we're down to 3. Julian Verse on the button with 12.5 million. The blinds are now up to 120, 240. He's made it 567,000 to play. Just Hummel Hinton to go. He's the lowest chips right now, with starting this hand at about 3.9 million. Looks like he's given this one some thought. He's moved all in. 3.88 million and a call. It's pocket deuces versus Queen Jack. Does the Queen or Jack come? Otherwise, Hummel Hinton's going to be out in third. Picked up a couple more out to 9. That King was close, but no cigar. And Julian Verse knocks out Hummel Hinton in third. And we're down to heads-up play. So we're at the heads-up stage of this main event. 240,000 is the big blind, and just made up there by Julian Verse. Sometimes it's better to put the pressure on with a raise. Sometimes the advantage with just flat calling is you get a little bit more pot control, and during this early kind of stage maybe you do want to keep the pot small, try and work out the weaknesses of your opponent. Anyway, that's what's happened. It's a bet here of 312,000 from Julian on a very dangerous and interesting looking board. 7, 8, 10. 4 on the turns, broader straight, another straight. SC Killer bets out for 800,000. Very quick call there from Julian Verse. 4 pairs the board. SC Killer makes a check. 2.7 in the middle. 1.3 the bet, about half the pot. Looks like he wants a caller with this one. You may remember that these two started their final table with the 2 highest in chips, and they've managed to both get to the heads-up stage. And it's a call there from SC Killer. 4's full of 8s for Julian Verse. No wonder he wanted a caller. Once again, it's Julian Verse's button. Well, he's put a raise in this time, 600,000. Possibly hoping to pick it up there and then. He hasn't. He's got a caller. 558 the board. 1.2 million in chips. Check, check. Deuce on the turn. Doesn't look like it changes much. $760,000 the bet from SC Killer. Queen on the river. Now 2.8 million in the pot. SC Killer's decided to check it. Well, this time it's 1.75 million. Bit bigger than the bets he made in the last pot. Can't tell whether he's trying to push or whether he wants a caller. Well, he's caught the Queen. What a call on the turn. He's got very lucky on the river, and he's won a nice pot there. This time it's SC Killer on the button. He makes it 600,000 to play. As you can see, Julian Verse is now the chip leader. And he's re-racing 2.4 million. Just over 1.8 more to SC Killer, should he wish to carry on. He's called Ace 6-5 the flop. 5 million in the pot already. That's a very sizable pot. Whoever wins it will definitely be the chip leader. 2.3 million for Julian Verse. And a call from SC Killer. Very quick check there from Julian. Check, check. King on the river. And it's gone check to the end. He's caught the 9, but it wasn't good. The 10, pocket 10s of SC Killer. And he's going to win a nice pot there. It's a good call on the flop. So we're back to Julian on the button. He's made up. Ace, King, Queen on the board. Check from SC Killer. Over to Julian Verse. Who bets 315,000. Call from SC Killer. 6 on the turn. $800,000 from SC Killer. He called the bet on the flop, bet on the turn when the 6 came. Interesting play. A re-raise here from Julian Verse. This is becoming a very important pot for him. And a call from SC Killer. 9 on the river. Shouldn't have changed much. Does Julian Verse want to risk potentially giving himself a chance to move all his chips in? Well, he tried to bluff, make a move on the turn. It didn't work. And SC Killer picks up a very, very nice pot. So we've seen Julian Verse running without the ball a couple of times. Of course, if he does manage to catch something, he'll probably get himself a nice pot. Queen, Queen, 8-5 the flop. 700,000 the bet here from SC Killer. Back to Julian. Check raises, 2.9 million and a sizable chunk of his chips. If he gets this one wrong, it's going to be the end of his tournament probably. He's got about 5 million left and they go straight in the middle. The last couple of times when he's been bluffing, he's held back on the river. SC Killer, if he thinks he's bluffing again, he can afford to make this call and still be a chip leader. Wow, what a decision. This could almost decide the tournament. Well, if he beats Julian Verse, of course it does decide the tournament. But it could mean a real sizable swing if he gets it wrong. Definitely giving it some thought and I don't blame him. He's made the call and Julian's got queens and 8s with a 6 kicker and it looks like it's enough. And he takes that one down and we're practically even in chips. So as you can see, they're pretty even in chips now, around 20 million each. One mistake from one player and it could be all over. A re-raise here by SC Killer. 750,000 to play. Blinds have also gone up. It's 140-280, but it's not a sizable increase by comparison to the size of their chips. A re-raise from Julian Verse, 2.8 million. This pot getting big very quickly, and a re-raise again by SC Killer. And a small re-raise, almost a come on in. 4-6 Jack, 3 clubs the flop, 10 million in the middle. Very, very important pot. SC Killer put the last raise in. Let's see if he carries on betting. I can't imagine him leaving that 10 million out there without having at least one stab at it. 5 million's the bet. Back to Julian. Who calls? Wow, this pot is huge. Queen on the turn. Doesn't bring a club. And an all-in push from SC Killer and a call. Wow, and that's why Julian Verse has flopped a king high flush, and what a pot for him, and that's pretty well it all over. 40 million in chips. SC Killer's going to need goodness knows how many double ups to actually get himself back into this. He's looking good for the first one though. He's caught the 10. That's going to double him up. 300,000 for him. I can't imagine him passing this one. No, he shoves his chips in there. Got to win with a 6-8 against the 9 Jack. That's a 6. Wow, he's keeping the dream alive. Up to 589,000 now. One more double up and he might actually be able to pass a hand. All in push. Got to be a call from SC Killer. He can't really afford to let anything go now. 6 deuce versus the Queen 7. Needs to get lucky again. Nothing on the flop. Oh, and there's the 7. Not even a 9 to give him a straight would help, because that would put a bigger straight for Julian Vers. And this tournament is over, and Julian Vers is our winner. So that's the end of the main event, and Julian Vers takes home over $450,000. SC Killer in second place takes home $273,000, and Hummel Hintern takes home a very respectable $175,000. That may be the end of the main event, but we're going to do it all again in February for the Full Tilt Online Poker Series number 11. If you didn't make a final table now, who knows, maybe you'll get a chance to do it then. So here's Gary Jones signing out until next year.